Good journey, everyone. Welcome to Space Oats Live. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's a different day this week. Different day because my schedule is a little bit different this week. But yeah, welcome back to Space Oats, my listeners that watch this whenever you watch it. Um, it is actually episode like 98. I can't believe it. So like some time along the way, and I just figured this out tonight. Um, this is my problem with doing Roman numerals as episode numbers because man, did I get lost at some point in time, and I'm going back and I really messed it up. So I got to go back through and like redo the episode numbers because they are all wrong. I skipped like 10. I have no idea what I did. But yeah, this is like it's actually more than 98. It's my 98th episode that I've done on YouTube or that I've loaded up to YouTube. This actually is like I'm over 100 episodes. I can't believe this. I've done over 100 episodes of Space Oats Live, and yeah, I got to go back and redo these Roman numerals. Uh, I can't believe it, but yeah, we're gonna be talking, taking a trip back to a really exciting time for Star Wars. And it kind of coincides with any type of exciting Star Wars time for fans that um, maybe Star Wars introduced a character that was going to be cast, and we learned about the casting of this character. And maybe, whenever we get like hints of certain ideas of Star Wars projects, and we start getting in our head, like, who's going to play this character, who's going to play this character, and a lot of really cool fandom um, mashups go out there, and even characters that haven't even been announced as being in any projects, but we have read about them. Who would be a great actor to play in this Star Wars project, and some amazing ones have come up, and you know, brought this up a couple weeks ago with certain characters being portrayed on live action, and yeah, I mean, we all have like those ideas, right? Of like what character would be played by what actor. And this week kind of goes along with that, especially with announcements of characters. And, just kind of curious, and that's why I threw this out here, who in any Star Wars project coming till now, were you like really excited? Like they announced the actor that was going to be in Star Wars. Maybe we didn't know a lot about their character yet, but an actor that you were just couldn't wait to see involved with Star Wars. And that kind of ties into tonight's episode and it also ties into not long ago in this galaxy, because it was a very exciting time for Star Wars fans when the prequels were getting made. I mean, we were really excited that prequels were getting made. And episode one had came and gone. We had some amazing announcements for cast that were coming to the fore. That were coming back to do characters that maybe were a shock, but surprised, but excited about. Ian McDiarmid playing Senator Palpatine. We all kind of knew where that was going, right? Unless you didn't know anything about Star Wars, we were really excited about that. And new characters. Sam Jackson coming in to play a Jedi, being a great Star Wars fan. Ewan McGregor. Um, just so many people joining the project. Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, Frank Oz coming back to do the voice of Yoda, which was exciting. Natalie Portman, many people coming into the scene and returning people as well. Kenny Baker, Anthony Daniels, all these people that were involved in the original project still coming back and joining the cast and being really excited about that. Going into episode 2, we knew that there was going to be the same characters mainly, but maybe some different actors. We knew the timeline was different, so we were going to get a different Anakin Skywalker. Not a lot of people knew a lot about Hayden Christensen, kind of a newer actor, younger actor. Somebody knew that George Lucas liked to pick for his main characters somebody that was fresh, a young face, a new face, and but then he always liked to throw in established actors. I mean, think about Obi-Wan Kenobi and Alec Guinness. being a very established actor. Peter Cushing coming in to play Grand Moff Tarkin in the original film. So like throwing in characters that are established actors as well as new fresh faces, I think George Lucas did very well with casting the original movies, and the same thing carrying on with the prequel trilogy. And again, not long ago in this galaxy, July, what is today? July the 11th, in 2000, we had an announcement of a new actor joining the Star Wars galaxy. And this was a very established actor. And if you knew who Peter Cushing was, you knew who this actor was. And this was when a legendary actor, joined the galaxy far, far away. And we're talking about the official announcement from StarWars.com that confirmed the one, the only, Christopher Lee had joined the cast of Star Wars Episode 2. Christopher Lee, amazing. And if you knew who he was, you knew who he was. But maybe some of you did not know who he was. But if you were a fan of any type of fantasy, horror, you probably had heard some things about him in and around this announcement within the past year, at least. I think his name was pretty much out there. So an excerpt from what was said on StarWars.com for July 11th, 2000 was, Lucasfilm is pleased to announce the casting of acting legend Christopher Lee in the role of a charismatic separatist in George Lucas's Star Wars Episode 2, currently filming in Australia for release in summer of 2002. So not a lot really said about his character, about who his character was going to be, other than at the time of that announcement that his character was identified only as a charismatic separatist. Which maybe didn't fit the bill for a Christopher Lee-like character. We would think maybe somebody a little bit darker. But yeah, still interesting little title there. The name Count Dooku actually remained unconfirmed for a bit. It was thrown out there and leaked a little bit here and there, but we didn't know anything about that character and if it was connected to Christopher Lee's announcement at all. Maybe you could kind of put that together, charismatic Count, possibly, and then also the fact that knowing Christopher Lee's history and the films that he worked on, that tie of being a Count maybe could have been a tie to who the character was that he was playing. But it wasn't long before that character's full name, Count Dooku, and his menacing Sith alter ego, Darth Tyrannus, became widely known. And this casting announcement generated significant excitement among Star Wars fans. And it was for good reason. Christopher Lee was already an icon, as already said before. If you know who he was, you knew who he was, especially known for his unforgettable roles in many, many, many different films in the horror genre. Christopher Lee had defined the macabre for generations of horror film enthusiasts. Those old black and white films. His long film career began in 1947. In 1957, he appeared in his first Hammer Film Productions. Hammer Film Productions was one of the big horror film production companies at that time. So if you were a horror fan, you probably knew all the Hammer horror films and knew all about Christopher Lee, especially after he first appeared in The Curse of Frankenstein, which was his first film, and coincidentally, he starred in that role opposite of another Star Wars great, Peter Cushing, who was Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars A New Hope. With the success of that Frankenstein film, Lee would go on to star in numerous Hammer films throughout the 60s and early 70s, and he often co-starred with Peter Cushing, the two actually becoming friends, and again, working together very much so on those pictures, which probably had an influence on Christopher Lee maybe wanting to get into the Star Wars universe, knowing that his good friend Peter Cushing did have that as part of his career as well. So another factor that probably put his name on the map at the time, if you weren't a horror film fan, was the fact that he was about to blow everyone away with his portrayal of Saruman in the upcoming The Lord of the Rings trilogy, which was in production as well. It was not due out for another year. Lord of the Rings came out in 2001. But as we know, Saruman, the White Wizard, what a great character that Christopher Lee portrayed. And honestly, if I were to pick the two, Count Dooku or Saruman, I think that he really did top that as his roles. I think Saruman was much better than Count Dooku, and I almost wish that we could have gotten a character like that out of Christopher Lee in Star Wars. Maybe somebody a little bit more darker and sinister than charismatic. But Count Dooku is a great character as well, and I'm not bashing him in any way. Fantastic, and what has become of that character, Christopher Lee putting him on the map and generating the excitement for that character has led us to so many great stories outside of Christopher Lee's portrayal of that character. But perfect timing, right? Though, Lord of the Rings probably getting a lot more fans, especially those that saw Christopher Lee's portrayal of Saruman, definitely probably carried on to them wanting to see him as Count Dooku in Star Wars, and probably gained a lot more fandom for the prequel trilogy in that way. Lee actually said a lot about looking forward to taking part in that Star Wars role and that epic space fantasy saga that he was about to be a part of. He said they created a whole new era in the cinema, which Lee was speaking about the Star Wars films in general. There's no question about it. The scale of imagination and the scale of production and the impact that it had on the entire world was a first. It created an impact in the cinema that was unique. This particular series of film will be a mystic saga on a vast scale. And kind of foreshadowing, goodness, the vast scale that we see now today, and Christopher Lee, not being able to be a part of that anymore. But boy, did he kind of foresee the future there a little bit. And such scale was not daunting to a man of Lee's caliber. He also said he had been in the film industry for 53 years. And as he says, I can remember doing very big pictures, very physically demanding pictures, very tough pictures, big budget movies with big directors. So I'm used to working in epic pictures. I've been in many films over the years. In the past, one could work extremely hard, very long hours, very demanding roles, and still have fun. It can still happen today, but fun is a word you don't hear very often in the film industry these days. Sadly, it's increasingly rare. One of the things that George Lucas said to me was, "We'll have a lot of fun," and that, believe me, is very good to hear. Pretty amazing to hear that from somebody who's done so many films that, sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not, but of course it's fun to work on Star Wars. How could it not be fun to work on Star Wars? Even George Lucas himself praised Lee's incredible ability to convey both a sense of evil and, interestingly, a feeling of stature, strength, and wisdom. This made him an absolutely fitting choice for the complex character of Count Dooku. And I honestly, he's such a complex character. You really do want to know more about him in the films. It's almost like we didn't get a taste at the time. Attack of the Clones, you wanted to know more. You're like, this is it. He comes in kind of halfway through the film, and we really don't know much about his background. we get tidbits here and there, and you're like, oh my goodness, there's got to be so much more of a backstory. And we've learned a little bit of his backstory, 3 short episodes of Tales of the Jedi, but honestly, I would love to see more Count Dooku's story, especially backstory, leading up to where we see him in Attack of the Clones, on screen anyway. And we learn more, I mean, honestly, we didn't get to see how much of Revenge of the Sith, and you were like, that was it. But we had the Clone Wars animated series that gave us so much of Count Dooku. Even though Christopher Lee did not do the voice the entire time, we did get to learn a lot about Count Dooku after we grew to love him so much as a character that was brought on screen to us from Christopher Lee. So, I mean, we all know that Christopher Lee went on to do Count Dooku, not only in Attack of the Clones in 2002, but again, coming back for Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, in 2005. Brief, but still impactful. That first fight sequence in the beginning of the film. And he even lent his distinctive voice to the character in the animated film Star Wars: The Clone Wars in 2008, which really did, I think, boost that film a bit for what it's worth, and garner more excitement when you had some of the actual voice actors from the films make way to the animated series, at least for this episode, or at least for this movie, which was pieced together episodes that were supposed to be just released separately, but made into a movie, which generated some excitement for it. I know it was great to have his voice lent to that role and kick us off with that character, knowing that we were going to have Count Dooku for quite some time in the Clone Wars animated series. So it was a very brilliant piece of casting that happened for that movie, that animated movie. Lee brought such gravitas and a unique presence to the character, making Dooku one of the most memorable villains of the prequel trilogy. I mean, honestly, when you talk about the 3 main villains, all 3 of them fantastic. Sidious, Maul, Dooku. What a great trilogy of characters, and how they all worked together, showing the path to getting to Anakin taking their place, basically, at Sidious's side. So what a great kind of building point, and how everything connected together was just genius. And then again, Tales from the Jedi even pieces it together a little bit better, as well as the Clone Wars, where we really get to see this evolution of these characters. And it works so well. It's just so fantastic. When the fans first saw Lee in Attack of the Clones, we, at that time only knew him as leaving the Jedi Order, taking Maul's place as Darth Sidious's apprentice, which we didn't know how that happened, but we just know that at some point he became the next apprentice to Darth Sidious. After failing to assassinate Padme through Jango Fett, he unsuccessfully attempted to convince Kenobi to join him, when Anakin and Amidala came to Kenobi's rescue, Dooku battled Kenobi and Anakin in that final duel, and ended up being the one who took the first limb from Anakin Skywalker. Then we see Yoda's arrival, saving Skywalker and Kenobi, forcing Dooku to flee. So obviously Dooku no match for Yoda, and realizing that, and leaving that scene at that time. Obviously what he, beating Skywalker really did kind of put Anakin in a, like, pushing him further to the dark side. We already had a couple of those scenes with his mother and not saving her, and this is kind of, again, a defeat for him, a very strong defeat, and kind of just pushing Skywalker towards the dark side a little bit more at that time. So he's doing his job, basically, of what Sidious is kind of planning for. And of course, Anakin, going from Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith, it's really difficult to kind of see the progression there. But then once you watch the Clone Wars and you see the back and forth, more of interactions of Dooku and Anakin, you see again the pushing back and forth, Anakin's resentment growing more and more and more of Dooku as he keeps getting away, keeps surviving, and it just keeps growing stronger and stronger over time. As we end up seeing in Episode 3, his hatred is just so impactful towards Dooku in Revenge of the Sith, which basically leads Skywalker to embrace the dark side, and basically being the demise for Count Dooku in that final showdown between the two, when Anakin basically gave in and decapitated Dooku. Really, that was like the first instance of really planting his feet firmly on the ground in that path towards the dark side, and becoming Darth Sidious's third apprentice that we know of. I can't wait to I really do think that we need another series with more backstory for Sidious. Really kind of bridging the gap between the Acolyte and the Phantom Menace. We need something in there, and I hope that comes to play at some point. Again, as said, Dooku returned in 2008 for Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the movie, which helped launch the animated series, The Clone Wars, and it featured several Dooku appearances as the show. The Clone Wars, again, we saw lots of Dooku because he was really the main antagonist that the Jedi knew of throughout that series, and we saw so much appearances of Dooku as that show explored that relationship with Darth Sidious, Count Dooku, Anakin Skywalker, and the rest of the characters. Lee did voice Dooku in the film. Then we know Corey Burton took over as the voice of Count Dooku, which I think did a fantastic job. Corey Burton did in taking the essence of Christopher Lee's voice and bringing it to us on a regular basis in that character, and I think he did a fantastic job with that. But besides Christopher Lee, I think Christopher Lee was like the biggest big name announcement for Attack of the Clones as far as a new character. The only other one that I think maybe gained a lot of notoriety and fandom was Jimmy Smits coming to play Bail Organa, which again was another shocker. A lot of people didn't really know if it was the same Bail Organa. Was it going to be a connection to Princess Leia, the Bail Organa senator? That came by really quickly as we knew that he was going to be the senator from Alderaan. So it was like, oh, this is the adoptive father of Princess Leia. This is obviously a character that's maybe going to stick around, and we're going to see more of him as the story progresses. It ended up not doing as much as we thought. There was a lot of cut scenes of Jimmy Smits in the films as the birth of the rebellion, but we've seen more of Jimmy Smits' character as well, and done some amazing things with the character of Bail Organa. But really, other than that, there really wasn't any big new announcements of characters coming into Attack of the Clones. A lot of minor roles for people, but nothing shocking. that really got us excited, I think, of, oh, this actor's coming into play in Star Wars. I don't think like it is the way it is today. Today we're getting so many announcements all the time of individuals that have been big blockbuster actors coming into the forefront. I mean, Rosario Dawson coming to play Ahsoka. Um, just so it just seems like almost any project now that comes out that is Star Wars related, we're getting a lot of actors joining the foray of Star Wars that gains excitement, and we're seeing just so many people that are already established actors joining in and just giving us some extra excitement, and then returning characters as well. So like Ewan McGregor coming back to play Obi-Wan Kenobi was fantastic. Again, Jimmy Smits coming back to play Bail Organa in the other projects. Just we get those cameos coming back, those returning characters, which has been fantastic, and then the new characters as well. Pulling in parts. I mean, even with the sequels, Lupita Nyong'o, who was already very established, coming in to be the voice and the mocap for Maz Kanata. I think that gained a lot of excitement. Max von Sydow, like these big names joining into Star Wars that, and some of them, maybe you thought they were going to have a big part, but only being like a cameo role, but still giving us excitement for Star Wars. All these people that are interested, Oscar Isaac coming to play Poe Dameron, it gains more excitement, I think, and it brings in more fandom. Especially people that you wouldn't think to be in Star Wars, and then come to learn about them that they were Star Wars fans, and they just would love to have the role. I think that's actually kind of how Jimmy Smits, Robin Garland, the casting director, I think kind of thought of Jimmy Smits as the role for Bail Organa, but didn't really kind of pursue it until it kind of was leaked. And I think Jimmy Smits kind of reached out to them and said, I would love to be involved in the Star Wars project. I mean, that was Mace Windu, or Sam Jackson was always hinting at coming on to be in the Star Wars project. Ewan McGregor, again, was always trying to kind of campaign himself to be part of the Star Wars projects. And look where that got him. But just so many great actors have come into the foray of Star Wars. And you wonder who's going to join next. And I mean, we did get that amazing announcement of Star Wars Celebration this year of Ryan Gosling being a Star Wars project, being the main character of a new Star Wars project, which it's fantastic to see Star Wars just continuing to kind of catapult in that way and give us, not only new upcoming actors, which is great, fantastic, but just some established actors helping to create some amazing stories. Because what comes to play when you get these established actors is they help create the film environment as well. They bring to the table, what they've done for years and years and years, and sometimes help establish the characters in a better way, and then also help to establish the films, the creative process, because of their background. So you get better projects. I love having new faces, but then I love the mix of old and new. So I think if it's done well, you get the recurring actors coming back, new established actors, new upcoming actors, and you mix everything together. I think that's really what makes a great project, if you have all that and you have the proper mix and everybody working together, and it just becomes seamless. And you can tell which projects have worked very well with that, and have done better than others. So, and I think that's where, some of my favorites have come into play, because of the proper mix of people working on the project. So, but that is your Not Long Ago in This Galaxy. I didn't throw up any photos. I had some photos of Christopher Lee in the Count Dooku role, but yeah, I'm just kind of chilling tonight. Yeah, it's a weird night, Friday night. You're normally off on Fridays, but yeah, that is your Not Long Ago in This Galaxy. That is your Space Oats Live. Not much going on in the established news world of Star Wars. So it is midsummer, and we got a little ways to go before we get some projects coming out. So, but end of the year, we're going to get a couple of animated things going on. I think, well, we're getting a Lego Star Wars, right? Rebuild the Galaxy by the end of the year. And then also Visions Chapter 3, right? So, I think, yeah. That is it. That is it for tonight. Thank you for watching. If you are watching this later, thank you again. Please comment. Who was a good Star Wars casting that you were really shocked and thrilled to hear about, maybe in Star Wars past projects. Like, subscribe to this video, subscribe to this podcast if you so desire to. Do this every week, usually Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, that is it for this week for Space Oats Live. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Hope it's a great start to your weekend. And remember to do something Star Wars. That is it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. May the stars light your way.